Bitcoin is below 10,000 once again as the broader market continues to sell off. So, should you be worried? Should you be buying? What should you be doing? Well, let's discuss. Bitcoin is slightly below 10,000 right now, 99.65. This whole day it's been teetering around 10,000, goes below, goes above, below, above. Overall, it wants to stay at that 10,000 mark. The Bitcoin bulls are strong and they're not letting go. But for this past week, this 10,000 mark has held very firmly. So as you can see, there's been a few times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, 8 times out of the last week, Bitcoin went below 10,000 and quickly recovered back up. And we're right at that point now. So let's see what happens with Bitcoin. If it can continue to hold this line, if it can, it's very, very, very positive. Now, I started this video talking about the broader market selling off, and I'm referring to the stock market. As you can see, the Dow is down 500 points. S&P is down 66 and NASDAQ is down 300. And if you look at the percentage, about 2%, NASDAQ about 3, and this makes the third day. Of course, we're coming back from Labor Day, so no trade activity yesterday, end of the weekend, but last Thursday, Friday, and today, big sell-offs, and this is definitely having an impact on Bitcoin and crypto. Now, BTC Dominance have been coming up slowly, not drastically, 57.5%. That's about a percentage more or so than a few days ago. I actually expected BTC Dominance to fly much higher, above 60%, but it didn't happen, which shows the strength in altcoins and DeFi right now. Because of all the locked-in value in DeFi, I think that's actually helping curb volatility and actually stabilizing the altcoins more so than before. Let me preface that because some of you guys may be saying, what are you talking about? It's falling, 20 and 30%. But keep in mind, this kind of situation a year ago, 2 years ago, would be much worse, where Bitcoin dominance would fly up 5 or 10% during these times. But right now, only a few. Let's get to Bitcoin news first. Just Eat in France just opened up Bitcoin payments for 15,000 restaurants. That's very positive. They're utilizing BitPay, so they're not accepting Bitcoin themselves. They're using a processor like Bitcoin so that users, if they wanted to, they could utilize Bitcoin and pay for their favorite food at their favorite restaurants, which is very positive. This is the type of news that I always cover. And I do that because it shows that adoption is growing. A lot of people just argue that there is no traction, no adoption. It's slow, but no, there is, and it is still growing. What else is going on in Bitcoin world is Peter Schiff, the guy who hates Bitcoin, who can't stand Bitcoin, continuously talks about Bitcoin. Just a week or two ago, he was talking about how his son got into Bitcoin, and Peter Schiff was basically begging his audience to donate Bitcoin to him, right? It was just really awkward. And now he's talking about how his son again went against his advice and bought more cheap Bitcoin, which is what you should do on the dips. It's actually a pretty good idea, but Peter's like, no. And he's asking, who's right? Me, someone with 30 years of experience, or the kid? And of course, most of his followers are going to say the kid, because most of his followers honestly are Bitcoin bulls, which is just, the irony of it, right? I don't think it's irony. I think Peter Schiff knows exactly what he's doing. He knows most of his audience are Bitcoin bugs, are Bitcoin bulls, and that's why he always talks about Bitcoin all the time, right? So I don't know. It just seems like he's about to openly announce that maybe he's going to get involved with Bitcoin. I think this is how he's going to lean himself into it, by saying, okay, my son got into it and he's been talking with me, and now I think, maybe I should give it a try. I don't know. I think he's about to do a 180 pretty soon with Bitcoin. You know how a lot of people are talking about how DeFi is kind of like the ICO frenzy of 2017? I, for one, thinks that. But this article talks about how it's not even close. And there's a couple reasons why. So if you look at search terms, in terms of DeFi versus ICO, nowhere close. Okay, so average retail investors or just institutional investors, anyone that's searching on Google, they're not searching for DeFi like they are for ICO. So it hasn't gotten there yet. And the other point that this article makes is that DeFi is actually sustainable, unlike ICOs. So that's where it's questionable, right? So if you look at like locked-in value, I think there's a point there because locked-in value does show that these projects do have collateral on hand, that everything isn't just out of thin air, right? So if people need to borrow against it or people are trying to swap with it, I think that, yeah, it does show sustainability, right? Because there's so many people that actually have value in there. It's not just fake. However, with that said, DeFi is still very much like ICO because you have a lot of projects coming out of thin air promising huge yields now with yield farming, and people are just investing in that token. And there's a frenzy to go in, and we have seen a lot of dumps recently, right? But with ICOs, it was kind of the same thing. Promise of big returns, but they sold their tokens rather than have people trade for it. So there's a little difference there, but ultimately people are still involved with DeFi because they want to see explosion of their token, just like ICO, right? So DeFi is still very much like ICOs, but I do agree it's a little bit more sustainable because of all the locked-in value. Now, speaking of locked-in value is still at 7.82 billion. It climbed up a little bit higher yesterday. Today, coming down, but overall, it's still hovering up here, which shows the strength of DeFi. Honestly, seeing how fast, the locked-in value has climbed, I expected a much bigger drop. But this relates to what I just said at the beginning in terms of the market volatility, the BTC Dominance not going up as much. I think a lot of it has to do with the total locked-in value because a lot of people, they're not trading their crypto anymore. They're utilizing it to stake for interest or they're utilizing it to lock in for other reasons. And because of that, I think there's less volatility despite the fact that, yeah, we do have some major movement, but still, this is much better than, say, a year ago or 2 years ago. And it just shows there's a lot of people that's really in it for a long haul, and it's really promising that the total locked-in value is not just like tanking to zero. I think this is very, very promising and very good for the whole ecosystem. So next, I want to talk about some altcoins I'm looking at dollar cost averaging. I do believe this is a good opportunity, even though a few days ago, altcoins were slightly lower, but seeing how there's weakness again today, I do believe this is a good time to be buying a little dollar cost average. At least that's what I plan on doing because I do think that the broader market will recover soon, and same thing with crypto, and I do think a lot of these altcoins will recover back up in a big way. Number one, I'm looking at Ethereum, and that is because over the last 7 days, it is down almost 27%. 27%, which is significant. So now, Ethereum is hovering around 339, and recently, it climbed up way, way, way above 400. Now, why am I thinking about dollar cost averaging Ethereum? It's because of what is going on with DeFi right now. Everything basically that you're seeing on here, DeFi Pulse, all these companies, right? And this 7.82 billion locked in value, it's all riding on top of Ethereum. It keeps Ethereum relevant and it forces a lot of people to hold on to ETH because if they want to utilize these DeFi projects or their services, you have to use ETH for it. So I think this is positive for Ethereum, which is why the price has been going up and up and up recently, has been really strong. So I do think that Ethereum is a good pickup at this point. The next project is Chainlink. And you guys know I've covered Chainlink a lot recently. It's down 27% within the last 7 days, basically same as Ethereum. And I like Chainlink a lot because it's the only Oracle play in town. All these DeFi projects, they utilize price feeds, and they're utilizing a price feed from Chainlink. And besides that, Chainlink doesn't just offer services for DeFi. Their Oracle system, their decentralized Oracle network can be used across anything really. You're talking about DeFi, non-DeFi, other protocols, dApps. DEXs, exchanges, I mean, anything you can think of, they're providing a service for. So I think Chainlink is definitely here to stay for a long, long time. Definitely necessary for the space as well. And that's why I think under $12 for Chainlink is a good pickup. Next up is VeChain. You guys have heard me talk about VeChain for a very long time, and they continue to execute. They have a ton of partnerships in China, and I think it's just a matter of time before they reach top 10. So right now, within the last 7 days, they're down 28%. So I think that's a pretty significant drop, and it's a good opportunity to pick up. Next up is Band, the biggest competition to Chainlink. They are also Oracle play. And what's unique about Band is they're not concentrated on Ethereum. In fact, they started on other protocols first, and they plan on moving to Ethereum. But recently, they made a big partnership with Tron. Tron will be utilizing Band as their Oracle network. And same thing with Icon and a few others. They are definitely making strides. Nowhere close to the size of Chainlink yet, but if they continue to move forward, they could be the second biggest Oracle play in town. They're at 864 right now, which is really, really low. They were hovering above $10, $11, $12 recently. And you can see within the last 7 days, they're down 41%. Pretty significant. And one of the reasons, it's a strange story, one of the reasons why Band fell so much is because a lot of people were thinking Band protocol actually started Sushi Swap. And there was a lot of controversy with Sushi Swap before. So a lot of people thought that Band protocol, whoever the CEO is, was actually the founder of Swap. And it actually really tanked Band. And that is why they're down 40-something% right now. But honestly, I don't think they did. They had nothing to do with Sushi Swap other than they liked them. And they encouraged people to take a look as an alternative DEX. But I think Band protocol will recover, and I do think they're a good buy at this point. Next up is Curve, a project I've talked about briefly, but I like them a lot because of their LM ratio. The total locked-in value in terms of how much people have on this DEX is insane compared to its market price. Its market cap is very low, which is why the LM ratio is actually very, very high, and I really like that. And Curve, if you're not familiar, they're a DEX that's concentrated on stablecoins, so definitely needed in the DeFi space. A lot of people are utilizing stablecoins besides just ETH, so that is why I like Curve. And also why I like them is over the last 7 days, they have gone down 60%. Yeah, quite significantly, 60%. So I do think that at this junction, at $1.92, it's a good pickup. So the last project I'm looking at dollar cost averaging is Sushi Swap. And I know you guys are like, what? Yeah, out of the blue? No, because I talked about when I look at DeFi projects, I look at the LM ratio. And Sushi is one of the highest ones out there. And I think Sushi, kind of like Band, is the second biggest to Uniswap right now. They basically improved upon Uniswap, trying to steal people away. But there was a lot of controversy recently. The founder basically sold all his tokens. People thought he was exit scamming. He said he wasn't, but eventually he basically left the project. Someone else, more credible, took it over, so we'll see what happens. But seeing how it dropped 74%, I think it's worth the risk. Recently it was high as $11, fell down to $1 something. Even at $2.67, I think it's worth the risk to pick up a little, because if it can recover back even half to $5 or $6 or recover fully back up to $11, that's pretty good profit. So I do plan on picking up a little more Sushi at this point. All right, that's it. As you can see throughout this video, Bitcoin has climbed back up above 10,000. The Bitcoin bulls are strong. They're not letting go despite the fact the broader market is selling off. And I do think this is a good time to be dollar cost averaging a little more. If you haven't been doing for the last few days, I think today is also a golden opportunity, and I plan on doing so. All right, what are your thoughts about Bitcoin, altcoins, DeFi? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. And by the way, I do have podcasts going. I have podcasts going on Apple, Google, Anchor, Spotify, basically every company you could think of. So check them out. If you love to hear me rather than see me, the links are all in the description of this video. And make sure you check them out. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and take care. Bye-bye.